कुमार स्वामी नायक गोंगो लुगु लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे।
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन।
Good evening, Fiji. In this bulletin, Fiji records its first COVID-19 related death. 1,600 items to undergo price change at midnight. And another round of changes in fuel prices.
From the studios of FBC Suba, Jackie Smith.
A 66-year-old man is the first COVID-19 related death in Fiji. The man died at the Lautoka Hospital yesterday, where he was in isolation. Health Minister Dr. Firemi Wangainambete says the man was Fiji's first border quarantine case. He returned to Fiji from India after receiving surgical treatment for a long-standing cardiac condition. Dr. Wangainambete says despite the best efforts of our healthcare professionals, the man passed away due to complications from COVID-19.
The Ministry of Health and Medical Services has extended our sincere condolences directly to this gentleman's family, who we have remained in constant contact with since his diagnosis. This is enormous tragedy for them, and I can tell you our staff at the Ministry of Health and Medical Services are devastated by this loss as well. In many other countries, news of the first death due to the virus has signaled an intensifying of the outbreak. This is not the case for Fiji. Again, the virus is not present in Fijian communities, nor is there any risk of infection among the Fijian public.
Kellyvada joins us live now. Kelly, what's the message from health officials for Fiji?
Yes, Jackie, absolutely devastating news for the family of the deceased and, of course, the whole nation. The health ministry is stressing that Fijians must not panic. You know, this was a case that was already identified and was kept in isolation for some time. The deceased was classified as vulnerable due to a number of reasons, with the fact that he was his age, and also he had persisting heart conditions. The health minister, Dr. Firemi Wangainambete, has also confirmed that all other patients in isolations currently in stable condition, and they're being closely monitored on a daily basis. Jackie.
Thank you for that, Kelly. The reduction of custom duties on 1,600 items is expected to flow into the market from tomorrow, resulting in reduction of prices for certain essential items. The Minister for Economy says the custom duty reduction include items such as alcohol, exercise books, footwear, sweet biscuits, cereal, toothpaste, pastries and certain clothing items, reiterating the need for this to be reflected as it trickles down to consumers. Koroi Tandalala reports the Fijian Competition and Consumer Commission have been given the legislative power to take action against those who refuse to comply.
Economy Minister Ayaz Syed Kayum says they want members of the public to become aware and demand for these changes from retailers.
On the 1st of August, all of it is effective. Essentially, what we said that we want it to be passed on to the consumers. And as you know that we want the market to compete with each other. So all we are saying to them is please reflect the price reduction because of the fact that duty actually has decreased too.
We've been having meetings since the announcement has been made on 17 July with different businesses to understand how their inventory levels are, how they're going to pass on the duty reduction, and not just duty reduction, tariff reduction as well.
A bill was tabled in Parliament today to amend the FCCC Act, in which specific legislative power was granted to the Commission to ensure the changes announced by the government are reflected in the local market.
Giving specific legislative powers to the FCCC to ensure that duty reduction or reduction in any taxes is also passed to consumers.
We've got FCCC that will be able to monitor that, and they'll be working in collaboration with all of these entities. Number of products, of course, including food items, also including in respect of everyday items, whereas washing detergents, exercise books, etc. All of that essentially has come down, and a lot of it will have a very positive impact in respect of the day-to-day living.
FCCC Chief Executive Joel Abraham says their team will be out in the field tomorrow to undertake a survey on the price changes in the market. The government says Fijians should be able to benefit from the import duty rate changes on items such as imported vegetables, canned foods, milk and certain textile materials, amongst many others. Koritandulala, FBC News.
A winding up notice application has been made against Travel World Resorts Limited, the developers of the recently opened Pulmonary Bay Resort and Spa Fiji. A subsidiary of the Gokul Group of companies, Travel World Resorts Limited completed and opened the Pulmonary Bay Resort and Spa in Fiji in May last year. Pranita Prakash reports.
FBC News believes the hotel project has faced financial difficulties for quite some time. It reached a stage where within just 2 months of its opening, the 5-star luxury resort was up for sale in the international market. FBC News understands there were few interested parties willing to buy the property. However, none of the proposed deals were successful. The main building contractors for the project, Western Builders Limited, confirms they are still waiting for their payment and now have taken out a winding up notice against Travel World Resort through their lawyers.
We were the main contractors. Well, we have been owed a substantial amount of money in millions of dollars since a long time.
Managing Director Taj Mohammad Jan says this has affected their business.
The non-payment of the project is severely affecting our business, as well as a large number of suppliers, subcontractors, separate contractors and consultants in our country.
FBC News understands the Travel World Resorts Limited owes more than $40 million to the Fiji Development Bank and other debtors such as Edison Consultants and LHM. The application for winding up was made by AK lawyers last Monday and will be heard at the Lautoka High Court on the 20th of this month. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
Economy Minister Ayaz Said Qayyum expects bank interest rates to drop in coming months as a result of prevailing market conditions. National Federation Party leader Professor Biman Prasad had today said in Parliament that while banks are giving relief by way of deferring loan repayments, they haven't reduced interest rates. The Economy Minister then clarified that the government cannot intervene in the market. Koroi Tandulala reports.
The National Federation Party leader had said that while the Reserve Bank of Fiji has revealed that liquidity levels stand at around $786.1 million as of Wednesday, this is not reflected in the bank interest rates.
And I think this is the time that the Reserve Bank ought to ensure or use its influence to ensure that commercial banks, lending institutions actually reduce the interest rate. Because the Reserve Bank is going to put more money, presumably as a result of this change, and the limit has been increased. They would be putting out more money into the system. Banks will see further increase in liquidity, and therefore interest rate should go down.
The Economy Minister says there are a number of debts that are going bad for the banks and they have to make provisions.
Of course, we would like overall the interest rates to come down. But there are a number of determinants. Government cannot go and intervene in the market. But there are various ways that it will happen. As everybody knows, that the term deposit rates were very high. But when the term deposit rates actually come down, and people are getting off those term deposits, and the market adjusts itself, then of course the lending rates will subsequently get lower. And you will see in the next few months that the lending rates will come down. But as I've highlighted, there's a number of debts that are going bad for the banks. They have to make provisioning.
The Reserve Bank of Fiji says the build-up in non-performing loans could impact financial stability moving ahead. Koritandulala, FBC News.
Fijians will have another round of changes in fuel prices, which comes into effect from tomorrow. The Fijian Competition and the Consumer Commission says Fiji is directly impacted by world market prices for both refined oils and LPG. And any changes to the world market prices will be reflected in fuel and LPG prices in the country. Pranita Prakash reports.
Come tomorrow, Fijians will have to fork out extra for fuel as new prices come into effect. Motor spirit will increase by 12 cents per litre to retail at $1.96. Premix increases to $1.61 a litre. Diesel sees an 11 cents increase to sell at $1.63 per litre, while the price of kerosene remains the same.
So for the month of August, the increase in local fuel price for August is actually due to unfavorable market movement in the international prices for motor spirit, premix, kerosene and diesel.
However, there will be a decrease in retail LPG prices. A 4.5 kg cylinder sees a drop of 32 cents to sell at $11.54. The cost of a 12 kg cylinder will reduce by 85 cents, retailing at $30.79. 13 kg cylinder will sell at $33.35 after a 93 cents reduction. Bulk gas sees a 3 cents per kg drop to sell at $2.13, and auto gas will cost $1.43, a 2 cents reduction.
Prices which are implemented by FCCC, and this is something that we announce to all our consumers, is that we follow a 1 month lag period. As such, for the August 2020 fuel price, it's based on the regulated importations that were made by the fuel and LPG companies for the June importations.
The Fijian Competition and the Consumer Commission will conduct the next fuel and LPG price review on the 1st of next month. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
Up ahead, government defends agriculture budget, and over 15,000 FMPF members exhaust funds.
मैं तो दिल्ली में रहता हूँ और रेडियो फीजी रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
Uplifting the agriculture sector is not about throwing more money into farms. Economy Minister Ayasaid Kayum responded to opposition MP Niko Nawaikula's claims that agriculture has been neglected in the new budget. Edwin Nund reports.
We ask you. Sodelpa MP Niko Nawaikula made an emphatic and somewhat dramatic appeal for primary industries.
I cry for the Minister for Fisheries. I cry for the Minister for Agriculture. I cry for the Ministry of Forestry. Because they had nothing. We did not empower them.
Various tax incentives, duty reduction on all the agricultural inputs have all been reduced. And of course he needs to also understand, if everybody today in Fiji went and planted dalo, it won't be a viable industry to get into because the price of dalo will come down.
Syed Kayum pointed out that the Agriculture Ministry has in fact received an increase. Nawaikula, however, was skeptical.
He did not talk about popo. He did not talk about any new things. His allocations, he did not talk about vanilla. He did not talk about dalo. He did not talk about yangona. He did not talk about duruka.
There will be a glut in the market. You need to value add. You need to be able to find markets for it. At the moment the world is shut down, half the world is shut down. So your ability to go and market is limited. These are the ground realities. So please, you need to understand.
The Agriculture Ministry is allocated $14.4 million, an increase of $3.8 million. Edwin Nund, FBC News.
The Social Welfare's recertification program is now closed. Director Social Welfare Rupeni Fatiaki says recipients who fail to fill their forms will now have their allowance suspended. Fatiaki says the recertification exercise is to ensure the social protection net truly captures those who deserve to be helped. 77,000 recipients were earmarked to be recertified in this program.
Come 1st of August, those that are not recertified, we are going to suspend their allowances. And so until they bring their forms or fill their forms and bring it back to us. Those that have filled their forms, there's no need to worry because they'll continue to be paid. It's only for those that have not recertified.
About 15,000 Fijians have exhausted their general account funds following withdrawal under Phase 2 of the Fiji National Provident Fund COVID-19 relief package. To date, the fund has assisted over 25,000 members with a total payout of $13.7 million under this phase. Kellyvada reports.
Out of the $13.7 million paid out under Phase 2 relief package, $7.2 million was subsidized by the government.
This amount, of course, excludes 1.4 million, which was paid earlier to 6,255 members who had applied in phase 1 and had a general account balance of less than $0 to $35. Phase 2 opened on June 9 and targeted members who were unemployed from 1st October 2019 or on leave without pay during this pandemic period.
Chauchikuroi says they continue to monitor the situation, ensuring prudent decisions are made pertaining to the management of the members' funds.
We continue to assure members that their funds are safe and talk to us to get the correct facts instead of listening to all the chatter aims at causing fears and uncertainty.
With phase 3 rolling out soon, the fund is urging employers to be honest with their submissions.
The fund won't be held liable for any wrong information provided. And if in case we find out the employer has been colluding, so we will definitely take the employer to task.
The Fiji National Provident Fund is expecting to assist around 53,000 affected Fijians in its phase 3 of COVID-19 relief package. Kellyvada, FBC News.
Despite the initiatives put forward by the government and the passing of the 2020-2021 national budget yesterday, the CSO Alliance are left disappointed. The alliance, which consists of 6 social and civil organizations, claim the budget does not really consider the plight of vulnerable Fijians. Fiji Women's Crisis Centre Coordinator Shamima Ali is questioning the effectiveness of certain government initiatives in the new financial year, particularly incentives or assistance aimed at cushioning the impacts of the pandemic. Ali was disappointed with the Blue Lane government initiative and questioned the processes involved, which she says lacks transparency.
Pay cut to the CEOs, the PSs, permanent secretaries, only 10%. I'm sure they can give up a lot more than that. So, and many more in the cost cutting, like all these bridges we are going to be building. At this time, COVID time, let's fix up the potholes and, put that money aside for the people,
Meanwhile, the national budget was passed by Parliament yesterday after 4 days of robust discussion. And Whitney is here with the latest in business.
Thanks, Jackie. In business tonight, economic damage from COVID-19 to continue into 2021. And in growing Fiji, new classrooms for St. Mary Primary School. Stay with us.
Pula nadang bawa perusahaan kerja, gor keraki, do televisi ono barong na Radio Fiji 1 nandomo ibiti.
Radio Fiji 1 nandomo ibiti.
The impact of COVID-19 on Fiji's tourism industry and its related sectors is projected to result in negative 16 percentage points to GDP in 2020. However, the value addition from health sector spending, a result of the vigorous health check campaigns during the lockdown period and increased activity in the information and communication sector, are projected to add 1 percentage point to GDP. The Asian Development Bank, in its Pacific Economic Monitor launched yesterday, says the economic damage is expected to continue into 2021. It says the tourism industry is projected to return to pre-COVID-19 levels only by 2023, provided a vaccine is identified or borders reopened this year. The Economic Monitor states this is a stark contrast to an economic expansion of 2.5% in 2020 projected by the ADB prior to the pandemic. Courts Fiji has welcomed the government's decision on the reduction of prices on selected products from tomorrow. While launching the Court's National Bedding and Furniture Month, General Manager Retail Hamendra Prasad says this will greatly help their customers during this difficult time. Prasad says this is also to ensure that Fijians have a variety of products to choose from.
That's good. The prices of items will come down, make it more affordable for people. So it's now a lifestyle thing. People, once they buy a washing machine or TV, they get used to it. So yeah, it will become more affordable for them.
Electronics giant Samsung blew past earnings predictions in the second quarter. Today, the company said it was cautiously optimistic it will finish the year strong. We now join Sharon from HFC Bank with the latest from the money markets.
Today, the Australian and New Zealand dollars broke to fresh highs against their US counterpart. Aussie was up 1.4%, while Kiwi was 0.8% higher for the week. The Aussie and Kiwi also benefited from China's signs of economic recovery after their factory activity expanded in July for the 5th month in a row. Meanwhile, the US dollar dropped to a 2-year lows and is on track to post its biggest monthly decline in 10 years. The investors are concerned about US economic recovery after their GDP data released today showed that the US economy contracted by 32.9% in the second quarter. It's the largest fall on record, leading to the worst GDP slump in American history. The Labor Department data also indicated signs of stalling employment market. Close to 1.434 million Americans submitted their unemployment claims in the week ending July 25th. Confidence in the US currency was undermined further after President Donald Trump raised the possibility of delaying the nation's November presidential election. And that's all from HFC Bank for this week. Vinaka.
Looking at today's local exchange rates as set this morning, just like yesterday, the Fiji dollar rose against the Chinese yuan and the US dollar. It also strengthened against the Aussie dollar and the PNG kina. On the commodities market, crude oil prices were down by just over $1 to end at $40.23 per barrel. Gold continued to climb and it was at $1,968 per ounce, and silver was down to $23.60 an ounce. After 9 of its classrooms became unsafe for students, the St. Mary Primary School in Lambasa has been gifted with a new building block. The new block consists of 3 classrooms furnished with new desks and chairs. It was constructed at a cost of $180,000 and was handed over to the school yesterday by the government of Japan. Eleanor Turangaivu has more.
Early last year, St. Mary Primary School in Lambasa was issued a 21-day notice to close down this wooden building, which contains 9 classrooms, due to health and safety issues.
The school management, however, immediately applied to the Ministry of Education for financial assistance towards the construction of a new replacement classroom block and a separate library block. This application, together with an approved set of building plans, sad to say, is still pending.
School manager Gerald Billing says for the first time in the history of the school, they then turned to seek assistance from a donor agency.
A project proposal was forwarded to the Embassy of Japan earlier on this year, and to our delight, the response from the embassy was positive. The end result is this beautifully constructed 3-classroom block before us here today.
Handing over the classroom block, the Japanese Deputy Chief of Mission in Fiji, Hada Shuguyoshi, says they saw the need to address the lack of classrooms and decided to help.
It gives me great happiness to say that this project has addressed such challenges through construction of new classrooms furnished with new desks and chairs.
The 3 new classrooms, along with 120 desks and chairs and 6 whiteboards, will be used by Year 1 students. Eleanor Turangaivu, FBC News.
That's it from Business Tonight. We now join Jamie with the latest in sports.
Vinaka Whitney, and good evening. In sports tonight, another Fijian signs a Super Rugby deal. And Men in Black hope for the best against Suva. This and more after the break.
My name is Neha and I'm from Kadavi. And Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.
The Fiji Rugby Union is hopeful plans will fall into place for the Flying Fijians to feature in the 8 Nations tournament scheduled for October. Chief Executive John O'Connor says they have accepted the invitation from the 6 Nations Union to join the tournament. However, he adds a lot of discussions and negotiations are still taking place, and the FRU hopes everything will be finalized soon.
It's still working in progress at the moment, and discussions are ongoing. We are having regular meetings with the 6 Nations just to understand the COVID-19 restrictions in Europe and likewise the opening up of borders. But we hope that it will be clear in the next few weeks and we can finalize our participation in that competition.
Rising star Vuate Karawalevu has set the bar for upcoming rugby players in Fiji. The 19-year-old, who has signed with Super Rugby side ACT Brumbies for the 2020-21 season, is set to make his debut in the Skipper Cup competition tomorrow. Karawalevu, who is from Kandavu, will be the youngest player in the competition if he comes off the bench for Naita Siri against Nandi tomorrow at Ratu Thakambau Park, Nausori. Karlaini Tabi has more.
Vuate Karawalevu's rugby career began with Leicester in England, where he played in 2007 to 2011.
Looking at Sir Rambini, the late Sir Rambini, who passed away a few years ago, looking at him play rugby was so motivating, looking at where he reached.
When Karawalevu returned home, he joined the Super Primary School's rugby team before joining Maurice Brothers High School. Last year, he was part of the Fijian Warriors side alongside Naitasiri teammates Tuinraki Samsamuvondre, Chris Minimbi and Emmanuel Nadiva. When he was offered the deal to join the Brumbies, Karawalevu didn't think twice.
I wouldn't take a no for an answer. As soon as the deal came, I had to sign the deal.
Karawalevu's father, Josiah Wandali, says this is a milestone achievement for his family.
Trying to motivate him to be positive and try to discipline himself. I played some little rugby, but it only ended up at provincial level. But his achievement has been a milestone for the family, given his age, still 19, and he's achieved quite a lot.
Wandali says his son decided to join Naitasiri for some game time. Karawalevu will feature for Naitasiri against Nandi at Ratu Thakambau Park tomorrow at 3 p.m. Karlini Tavi, FBC Sports.
Fiji Sevens rep Sevuloni Modenadangi will make his Skipper Cup debut for Nandronga tomorrow. And remember, you can watch the Nandronga Namosi clash live and exclusive on the FBC Sports channel on the Walesi platform at 3:20 p.m. tomorrow. Any team that plays Ba will always give their 100% to win. This is the sentiment of Ba goalkeeper Misiwane Nairumbe ahead of tomorrow's Vodafone Premier League clash against Suva. Both teams are tied on 12 points on the VPL table and are eager to close the gap on league leaders Rewa. Tali Materakula reports.
The men in black are wary of the capital city side after their 1-0 win over Nandi last weekend.
So we cannot count Suva out. So will also be coming firing because we have most experienced players with them. And I know Suva will give their hearts out to play against Ba because every team always comes out to play against Ba. They always give their 100% to win against Ba.
Defense was poor in Ba's losses to Nandi and Nasinu, something they hope will get better tomorrow.
Which was most fault was our defensive. Before we played against Lambasa, we was working on our defensive, how to improve our defense and the midfield, and also communication between the boys.
But for Suva, it's all about getting their basics right.
We need to work on areas that we need to get our passing right, for starters, and work a little bit on our fitness.
The match is an important one for both teams, as it will be a build-up to the Punja's Battle of the Giants tournament next week. Ba will host Suva tomorrow at the Fiji FA Academy ground at 3 p.m. and the match will be live on FBC TV and the live commentary on Mirchi FM. Tali Materkula, FBC Sports.
The Fiji Sports Council has reduced its facility hire rates, including gate sharing at sporting venues. Council Chief Executive Lichana Lombuka says the reduction in hiring rates and gate sharing will apply to all upcoming major and minor events. Lombuka says this is done to suit the extensively reduced budgets for all event organizers.
We also have, for major sporting events, like that happen at the NZ Stadium or any of our venues, gate taking is now 80-20. In the past, it was 75-25, where Sports Council would get 25% and the event organizer would take 75%. But as part of this review that the board has endorsed, it's now 80-20.
Fiji Mbati winger Mikaele Rabalawa's try was not enough for the Dragons, who went down to the Roosters 24-32 in the NRL last night. 11 tries were scored in the match. Today's play of the day, Sam Billings struck a career-best unbeaten 67 as England overcame a mini-wobble to claim an emphatic 6-wicket victory over Ireland in a Cricket World Cup Super League one-day international. That's it from sports tonight. Coming up in new media, Huawei becomes most wanted phone brand. This and more coming up.
Hi, Bula. I'm Selai from Nandi. I love Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
And in weather, a high-pressure system to the south of Fiji directs a fresh to strong southeasterly wind flow over the country. Quick look at the weather map. Looking at the west, there were intervals of clouds and sunshine. Eastwards from Pacific Harbour to Suva, there was a mixture of wind, sun and clouds with scattered showers late in the afternoon. Up north, similar pleasant conditions prevailed. At sea, moderate to fresh east to southeast winds, gusty at times, rough seas. Turning to the tides, the next low tide is at 10:01 p.m. with high tide at 4:16 tomorrow morning. Sunrise is at 6:33. Now for tomorrow, cloudy periods with brief showers over the eastern parts and interior of the larger islands is to be expected. Fine apart from possible afternoon and evening showers elsewhere, cool at night. Tomorrow's temperatures will mostly be in the high 20s. And our further outlook, we're looking further on to Sunday. Expect much of the same weather. In Fijian Pulse tonight, we ask, can Namosi wrestle the Fairbrother Cup off Nandronga tomorrow?
No, very hard. Nandronga will win. So, horsepower.
I believe so that Namosi will give a fair go to Nandronga this weekend. And but you know, Nandronga is a defending champion, eh?
I'll always go for the underdog. Go Namosi, go Namosi.
Namosi will give Nandronga a run for their money, but Nandronga will definitely win.
Recapping the main stories for tonight, Fiji records its first COVID-19 related death. 1,600 items to undergo price change at midnight and another round of changes in fuel prices. Now for these stories and others, tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. Our poll question we're asking, with liquidity set to rise to $1 billion, should banks decrease interest rates? Visit our FBC website to answer. And our Friday shot of the day comes from the Vunda Marina, and this was sent in by Josh Tukula, who captured this as the sun set in Lautoka. Perfect way to end our work week. And you can send us pictures to email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj, via Facebook page FBC News and our Twitter page at FBC_news. That's your news for tonight. Until tomorrow, from the team and I, have a safe and enjoyable weekend. Bye for now.
Bula FM, number 2 NSR.
Bula FM, number 2 NSR.